It's to the news. King Charles has been diagnosed with cancer.
Buckingham Palace releasing this statement in the past half hour, saying Buckingham Palace has announced that the King is being treated for cancer. He will continue with state duties but will step back from public engagements during his treatment. The Palace says the King remains wholly positive about his treatment and looks forward to returning to full public duty as soon as possible.
A spokesperson for the King has not revealed what type of cancer the King has, but says it is not prostate cancer. Last week, the King was discharged from hospital following surgery for an enlarged prostate, the condition the Palace had described as benign. Our Europe correspondent, Brett McLeod, is in London following this breaking news. Brett, a major announcement this morning.
This is quite a shock, isn't it, Carl and Sarah? We didn't see this coming, but the announcement was made just on half an hour ago across the entire British press all at once. Buckingham Palace releasing that statement, and that's really all the detail we have. That Charles was in hospital just over a week ago getting treatment for prostate enlargement, and it was during that, according to the Palace, that what they call a separate issue of concern was noted. Subsequent diagnostic tests have identified a form of cancer. They say it's not prostate cancer, but they're not saying what sort of cancer it is. Interesting too, Charles has already begun treatment for this cancer. They say he's been returned, he was in Sandringham up in Norfolk, he's come back to London for this treatment. And they say it's as an outpatient. So they're sort of downplaying how serious it is, given he's planning to continue his duties. He won't be in any public roles for a while, but he wants to continue his work behind the scenes as monarch, signing government papers and that sort of thing. And he says he remains positive about his treatment. They also said His Majesty chose to share his diagnosis to prevent speculation and hope it may assist public understanding for all those around the world who are affected by cancer. But of course there will be some speculation as to what form of cancer it is. The announcement publicly was delayed so that Charles had time himself to contact his children and other members of his family. As well, we understand that we have heard, as you mentioned earlier, that Prince Harry is going to make his way back to London to be united with his father, and treatment continues for we don't know how long. And we don't know how long he's going to be taken away from public duties, but of course this increases the pressure now on the senior member of the royal family who is now solely doing public duties, and that's Camilla, while Prince William is continuing to look after his wife Kate as she recovers from her surgery.
Yeah, but you mentioned there that there is no detail about the type of cancer or the stage of cancer either. We know that there was swift intervention and he's thanked the hospital for that, but there will be concern from the public here and some alarm.
Of course. I mean, because Charles is the monarch and really was only made the monarch in terms of the coronation less than a year ago. He's 75. He's always been in good health. He's always been quite fit. And so that's what makes this such a shock. I mean, it was only a very short time ago that we lost his mother at the age of 96. I think that's why they're being careful to say that he is being treated as an outpatient. He's not gone into hospital for immediate surgery or anything quite that serious. So, yes, it will raise concerns. He's had best wishes from the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, who Charles also informed personally about his diagnosis, and many others across the political spectrum have offered their best wishes to Charles. And many will be hoping that whatever form of cancer he's got, that the treatment is swift and he's able to come back to public duty soon.
He seemed, even 24 hours ago, pretty stoic, as you point out, going to church. Yeah. You know, he's waving to the cameras. He looks reasonably relaxed, and everyone thought it was business as usual.
It looked like, yeah, the worst of it was over. Whatever treatment he had for his prostate condition, it looked like that he was just now a man recovering and would be back into public duties soon. So the question is, of course, did he know at this point, these pictures are only just over 24 hours old, did he know at that point that he'd be having cancer treatment, given less than a day later he was getting that treatment? Or did he find out sometime afterwards? Don't know, but clearly he's trying to put on as brave as a public face as possible, saying he wants to keep working, and while he can't have any public-facing duties, as they call it for the time being, he'll keep going on behind the scenes. It was notable in these images. Normally there you would see other people standing around. Perhaps they thought it wasn't the right time for Charles to be exposed to other members of the public. We simply don't know. But yes, he looked pretty good there for a man who'd just spent a few days in hospital.
Look, pretty early days, obviously, but what has been the reaction that you've been able to glean across London this evening?
So far, given it is only 30 minutes since that official announcement was made, we've had best wishes from people across the political spectrum. The Speaker of the House, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, made an announcement in the House of Commons just a few minutes ago. And I'm sure that will be the case right across the board, that whatever people think of the monarchy, they're very much in favour of Charles in a lot of ways. He did very well when he had to take over from his mother when she died, and had to make an extraordinary change in the history of this country and the history of the Commonwealth when he took over from someone who'd been in charge for 70 years. It was a time when there could have been major missteps, but many people gave him a lot of credit for the way he took on his mother's role and continued to be a very public figure. In many ways, he's made more of an effort to be out in public than the Queen did, particularly in her latter years when, as we discovered, she was suffering ill health. And I think he's very keen, he's always been very keen to be seen as a man who is out there in public. And I'm assuming we'll want to do that as soon as he can again.
All right, Brett, we'll check back in with you shortly. Let's bring in former Palace Press Secretary Dickie Arbiter now, who's in Suffolk for us. Dickie, we're hearing reports from the BBC that Prince Harry will travel to see his dad in the coming days. Do you have any more information on that?
Haven't got any more information on that at all. And if he does come, that is a very wise and sensible move to make, to come and see his dad, particularly at this time, his dad having come out of hospital last week, Tuesday, having had a prostate operation, and less than a week later, announcement from Buckingham Palace to say that he does have cancer. They made clear that it's not cancer of the prostate. What cancer it is, we don't know. And will we ever know? Well, maybe in the fullness of time, Buckingham Palace will relieve that, will let us know. But as far as Harry's coming across, well, that's a good move. It's a very polite move. It's a very generous move. And it's the right move.
Dickie, I mean, just discussing how this will be received across London. Inside Buckingham Palace itself, how do things move after an announcement like this?
Well, announcements like this are fairly rare. I don't recollect anything except what we had announcements from the late Queen that she was suffering mobility issues and therefore cutting back on a considerable number of engagements, although being able to deal with her official papers through her red boxes. The palace will be moving very cautiously. They've announced that the King has cancer, and as I said a moment ago, we don't know what. They will be looking at his programme. They probably had already moved engagements that he might have been doing in February into March. These might be moved even later. As far as his red boxes are concerned, and these are very important, this is part of his constitutional role, that he deals with state papers, and that he is able to do without any hindrance, irrespective of what is wrong with him. So he'll deal with those. He'll continue with his audiences with the Prime Minister. He will undertake audiences if he feels okay to do it. That'll be up to his private secretaries and his medical team. But the private secretaries will be looking at engagements. They will be assessing when they think it is time and right for the King to come back on duty. My guess is it might well be in March, but it's conceivable that it won't be until after Easter, which, as we well know, the Princess of Wales won't be back until after Easter. After all, we've got to remember Easter is at the end of March, so it's pretty early this year, and we're talking about 7 weeks hence. And I think everybody will agree with me that they want to see the King treated properly and to receive a full recovery and not rush back, but at the same time carry on with his work of state.
Yeah, and of course the timeline here is difficult because we don't know how he will respond to treatment, obviously receiving that treatment as an outpatient. In the interim, obviously the others around him will have to step into some of those public duties, including Prince William, who, as we know, obviously with Princess Kate, is at the moment taking care of her back on Wednesday. Does this mean that he's going to have to spend more time away from her now?
It's not a question of spending more time. I mean, Prince William is going to be doing an investiture at Windsor Castle, and Adelaide Cottage is on the Windsor estate, so it's just up the road. So after the investiture, he'll go back to Adelaide Cottage. And in the evening, he's going to going to a charity dinner on behalf of the London Ambulance Service, and that'll be in London, and it's a sort of trip into London, the dinner and back again. So he's not that far away for any length of time, and he will be fulfilling that duty as a dutiful husband. Whether he's able to step into some of the engagements that the King was going to do, that remains to be seen. That remains to be seen how Buckingham Palace are able to handle and move things around. It's a bit like a chessboard, moving members of the royal family around to be able to undertake engagements that other members can't do. Well, and remember, we do have Prince Edward and the Duchess of Edinburgh and the Princess Royal as well.
Well, look, the schedule is one thing, and we're just not going to know, are we, until we know the treatment and how long he's going to need off. I mean, the Queen was legendary in being able to fulfil all of her obligations and then some. So waiting to see what he's going to be able to do could take some time, and before he's back in a full schedule could take some time.
It could indeed, and as I said a moment ago, it could be after Easter, and Easter is early this year, so it's perhaps sort of the latter part of April, beginning of May, that we'll see the King back in full harness. But it all depends on the treatment he's having, how he responds to that treatment, and whether he responds positively. But I have to reiterate, affairs of state do continue. He is well enough to do that. He's just physically is not going to be able to appear in public and on the public road.
Look, you've spent a fair bit of time with him. How would he be responding?
He will be responding. He'll be frustrated. He'll be frustrated that, yes, he went in to have this prostate procedure week before last. He came out and he would have thought that everything is okay. Now, we're told it's nothing to do with the prostate. We have to wait and see what it is. He will be frustrated because his job is to get out and meet people, is to get out and meet politicians, get out and meet.
All right, we've lost Dickie Arbiter there. We'll try and get Dickie back a little bit later. But yeah, you can certainly sense that frustration. There's been a lot going on in the royal family, and it's been a big couple of years.
It has been, absolutely.
It's hard to imagine a bigger couple of years for him. And just when he's getting out and about as king, for this to happen, another setback for him.